When Bad Bunny was stacking cans and bagging groceries for $6 an hour in a small supermarket in Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, nobody saw what was coming. Nobody knew that the kid ringing up your milk and bread was about to flip the entire music industry on its head and build an empire that would make billionaires take notes. But here's the thing that separates him from every other dreamer working a dead-end job. He wasn't just surviving, he was plotting. While his hands were busy with plastic bags and price tags, his mind was somewhere else entirely, building something that would eventually shake the world. This wasn't just another rags to riches story. This was a calculated takeover disguised as a come-up, and it started in the most unlikely place you could imagine. A quick pause. Welcome to Inside the Heist. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe as that will help us on our long way to YouTube monetization. Now, back to the video. Benito Martinez Ocasio, that's his government name, wasn't born into wealth or connections. He didn't have a famous family or a trust fund waiting for him when he turned 18. What he had was hunger, a laptop, and a vision that nobody else could see yet. Back in 2016, when most people his age were out partying or wasting time on social media, Benito was locked in his room uploading tracks to SoundCloud. He was studying audiovisual communication at the University of Puerto Rico, learning the technical side of media while simultaneously teaching himself how to become a star. Most college kids were figuring out what they wanted to do with their lives, but Benito already knew he just needed the world to catch up. And catch up it did, faster than anyone could have predicted. Those early SoundCloud uploads weren't perfect. They were raw, unpolished, recorded in bedrooms and makeshift studios with equipment that barely worked. But they had something that you can't buy or fake. They had soul, they had edge, they had that street authenticity that people could feel in their bones. The lyrics hit different because they came from a real place, from someone who actually lived what he was rapping about. Within just 2 years of uploading those first tracks, everything exploded. His breakout hits didn't just make noise in Puerto Rico or even Latin America. They shattered language barriers and turned him into the global face of Latin trap. Songs that were entirely in Spanish were suddenly dominating playlists in countries where nobody spoke the language. That's power. That's when you know you've tapped into something universal. By the time 2022 rolled around, Bad Bunny had done something that seemed impossible just a few years earlier. He became Spotify's most streamed artist not just once, but 3 years in a row. Let that sink in for a second. 3 consecutive years at the top of the world's biggest streaming platform, surpassing 18.5 billion streams. That's not just success, that's domination on a level that had never been seen before for a Spanish-language artist. Ever. Artists who had been in the game for decades, legends with massive English-speaking audiences, couldn't touch those numbers. Bad Bunny was rewriting the rules, proving that you didn't need to compromise your language or your culture to conquer the world. In fact, staying true to who you are was exactly what made it work. But while everyone was celebrating the streaming numbers and the hit songs, Bad Bunny was making moves that most artists never even think about. He knew something that a lot of talented people learn too late. The music industry will eat you alive if you let it. You can have all the hits in the world, sell out every arena, and still end up broke if you don't own your business. So while he was breaking records, he was also building an infrastructure that would make him wealthy beyond just album sales and concerts. His World's Hottest Tour and El Último Tour del Mundo weren't just musical events, they were financial juggernauts. Together, those tours generated over $435 million. Let me repeat that. $435 million. That kind of money puts you in a completely different conversation, not just as an artist, but as a business entity. He was now rubbing shoulders with the highest-grossing touring acts on the entire planet, and he did it without compromising his sound or his message. But here's where it gets really interesting, where you start to see that Bad Bunny isn't playing the same game as everyone else. Music was never going to be his only lane. While other artists were buying chains and cars and blowing money on things that depreciate, Benito was thinking about ownership and legacy. He co-owns Gecko, a high-end steakhouse in Miami that he launched alongside Groot Hospitality. This isn't some celebrity endorsement deal where he shows up for a photo op and collects a check. He's a real owner with real equity in a legitimate business that caters to Miami's elite. It's about establishing himself as a serious businessman who can operate in multiple industries. It's about creating another revenue stream that has nothing to do with whether his next album flops or succeeds. And he didn't stop there. Bad Bunny invested in the Cangrejeros de Santurce basketball team back home in Puerto Rico. Now, on the surface, that might just look like a rich guy buying into a sports team for fun. But dig deeper and you see the strategy. This move was about strengthening his influence in his homeland, about staying connected to the community that raised him, about putting money back into Puerto Rican culture and infrastructure. That's the kind of move that builds loyalty and respect that money can't buy. When you invest in your people, they ride with you forever. That's leverage of a different kind, the kind that turns fans into a movement. But perhaps the most crucial move, the one that separates Bad Bunny from every other artist at his level, is his relationship with Rimas Entertainment. Through Rimas, he maintains significant control over his masters and his business decisions. If you don't know what that means, let me break it down in street terms. He owns his work. When Bad Bunny makes a song, he's not just collecting a percentage while some record label executive gets rich off his talent. He controls the rights, which means he controls the money, which means he controls his destiny. In an industry where horror stories about artists getting robbed are more common than success stories, Bad Bunny structured his deals to protect himself from day one. That's the difference between being a star and being a mogul. Stars perform, moguls own. Then, in 2023, he pulled off something that showed everyone what he's really about. He partnered with Forbes to direct $300,000 into emerging small businesses. This wasn't a charity stunt or a tax write-off. This was Bad Bunny backing entrepreneurship beyond music, investing in the next generation of dreamers who are trying to build something from nothing just like he did. He hand-picked businesses that needed capital and guidance, putting his money where his mouth is when it comes to supporting community and culture. That kind of move builds a legacy that goes beyond platinum plaques and sold-out arenas. That's generational impact. That's the difference between being famous and being remembered. So when people look at Bad Bunny and see just another reggaeton artist who got lucky, they're missing the entire story. This rise wasn't luck. Luck is random. Luck is winning the lottery. What Bad Bunny did was deliberate, calculated, and executed with the kind of precision that business schools should be studying. From those days bagging groceries for $6 an hour, he understood something fundamental. Talent might open the door, but ownership keeps it open. He didn't just want to be the biggest artist in Latin music. He wanted to control the infrastructure, own the venues, invest in the culture, and build something that would outlast any single song or album cycle. Every decision he made was about leverage. The SoundCloud uploads built his initial fan base without needing a label's permission. The college education gave him technical skills that most artists hire people for. The touring empire gave him financial independence. The restaurant and basketball team investments diversified his portfolio and strengthened his brand beyond music. The control over his masters ensured that nobody could profit off his work without his say-so. The Forbes partnership positioned him as more than an entertainer. It established him as a thought leader and economic force in the Hispanic community. Each piece was carefully placed, each move was strategic, and together they created an empire that most people couldn't build in 3 lifetimes.
Bad Bunny proved that you don't have to abandon your roots to reach the top. He never switched to English to chase mainstream American success. He never watered down his Puerto Rican identity to seem more palatable to global audiences. Instead, he bet on authenticity, wagered everything on the belief that people would embrace him exactly as he is, and he won that bet in the biggest way possible. He showed an entire generation of Latin artists that they don't need to compromise or code switch to achieve global domination. The world will learn your language if what you're saying is powerful enough. This is what separating yourself from the pack actually looks like. It's not about working harder than everyone else, though Bad Bunny certainly put in the hours. It's about working smarter, thinking longer term, understanding that today's decision impacts tomorrow's opportunities. It's about building ownership instead of just collecting paychecks. It's about creating multiple revenue streams so that your empire isn't dependent on any single source of income. It's about staying connected to your community and your culture even as you conquer the world. It's about control, leverage, and vision executed with relentless precision. From $6 an hour to billions of streams, from SoundCloud to sold-out stadiums across the globe, from bagging groceries to owning restaurants and sports teams, from unknown college student to the most streamed artist on the planet for 3 consecutive years. Bad Bunny's story isn't just inspiring, it's a blueprint. It shows exactly what's possible when raw talent meets strategic thinking, when cultural authenticity meets business savvy, when someone refuses to let the industry define their ceiling. He didn't just rise to the top, he reconstructed what the top looks like and claimed it on his own terms. That's not luck, that's domination. That's legacy. That's power. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.